kind of rowdy, wild and crazy guys. And it's just generally an awesome way to fill a weekend.
I got into the anti-Scientology myself, basically because they are doing a lot of stuff that is really just wrong. I am a moral fag. Thank you all. They attack people for no reason. They lie, they cheat, they steal, they kill. These are all things that a corporation, a church, should not do, should not be allowed to do. But the public outrage wasn't there, and it needed to be there. So I took up the cause to help and bring it out.
I mean, the other thing to take into consideration is that, like, no other religion that, really governs by fear the way that Scientology does. I mean, you watch Miscavige and you watch the Tom Cruise videos in its entirety, they're terrified of anyone who isn't a Scientology. They feel that they're above them. They feel that they're above every person in this room who's not a Scientology. You're nothing to them. And such totalitarian language like that and such fear tactics that they're using against their own parishioners, it's just ridiculous.
Although I would like to add, you are a potential wallet for them.
You're me.
So clarify something for me, though. The video talks about protesting the organization of Scientology versus the religion of Scientology. Obviously, there are a lot of things that many people find, let's say, amusing about some of the internal beliefs of this organization. When Anonymous protests, what is it protesting and what is it not protesting?
Well, when we protest outside of their church, very specifically, we aren't protesting the religious services that are going on inside of it, or the people that are actually there. Most of the time, we actually feel sorry for those people. I mean, they're getting duped. They're getting lied to, brainwashed, and their livelihoods taken away from them. We are protesting the actual actions and abuses of the church against its own people, the public. Things like the RTF, the Rehabilitation Project Force, which is basically slave labor, where you make a mistake and you say something wrong. Let's say you misunderstood something that you should have really already known by now. They're going to send you over there because you need to be rehabilitated. Or, of course, you're a young kid and you decide you want to leave. Your parents send you there. It's 12 hours to 18 hours a day of work with one meal and sleeping in a room with usually 4 or 5 other people. When you look at all these beautiful buildings they have, all the renovation that's been done to it, it's the Rehabilitation Project Force, their slave labor, that's actually doing that work. That's the type of stuff we're protesting. We don't care what you believe. I personally am an atheist. I don't believe in any of the religions, but I don't care what you believe. You can believe whatever you want. Xenu, who cares? It's the abuses that we're against.
And so you don't want to make a comment.
No, it's okay.
So one of the Church of Scientology's responses has been to talk about how Anonymous is perpetrating hate crimes. In fact, they produced a special media DVD and press release about this, talking about religious hatred, that sort of thing. It sounds like Anonymous is trying to draw a line between speaking out against the religion and the organization. In connection, I would like to ask a related question, which is already a couple times in the conversation, we've had certain language come up which is indeed part of the culture of Anonymous, or the culture of Anonymous to date. Specifically, a couple of people have mentioned the phrase moral fags. And if you're reading Anonymous-related websites, you'll see various other references to faggotry, etc., along with some potentially more incendiary types of language. How does Anonymous reconcile that stuff that sounds, sometimes it kind of sounds like hate speech, and it sounds like Anonymous is hiding behind anonymity to use that kind of language, and then also stand up to the church saying, look, we're not perpetuating hate crimes, we don't hate.
Well, I mean, we use that language with each other. We don't, I don't think that anyone has come out and said, like, you know, David Miscavige is a faggot or anything like that. I mean, the whole point is we hang out on the internet, you know, we find something funny, we, you know, beat the hell out of it for a day or two, and we think it's awesome. But I mean, like, words like fag and stuff, I mean, there's moral fags, old fags, new fags, whatever. It becomes more of like, there's no gender, there's no color, there's no sexual orientation, it's a person. You know, when I say I'm a moral fag, I'm moral, that's it. Nothing else matters, especially online, because you can't see who I am. So when we use the language like that, I mean, it's an in-joke. It's a big, I mean, it makes things funny. It makes things light. You know, we're taking on a very serious organization. We've had serious repercussions, and, you know, we need to keep some levity going for ourselves as well. But we don't use that language against the church. We never will.
Do you think that that kind of language has affected the membership of Anonymous, or who chooses to identify themselves as such?
Well, I mean, you can be part of Anonymous and not use that language. I mean, on a day-to-day basis, I'm wretchedly PC, you know? But when I'm on IRC, I'm a dick, you know?
Anonymous, we like to laugh. We like to have a lot of fun, and oftentimes our humor is horrible. Our humor is racist and sexist and homophobic and just all in all offensive to everyone. It's the way we like it. The way a lot of us like it anyways. I don't know about these people. If you're really offended when someone calls you a moral fag or a new fag or an old fag or any one of the myriad of terms that have fag at the end, then you really shouldn't be on the internet at all.
Again, like when we're saying these things, I mean, it can be a compliment, it can be derogatory, it all depends on the context. Meanwhile, the Church of Scientology is out there calling us Nazis, they're calling us terrorists. That's hate language. What we're saying is just funny.
Furthermore, they lost the battle as soon as they invoked Godwin's Law.
So Anonymous has talked about, even before this particular fight against Scientology, which internally Anonymous refers to as Project Chanology, even before that project started, Anonymous would talk about who it targeted in terms of who has broken the rules of the internet. Can someone explain to me what that means? What are the rules of the internet? Where are they written down? How do we know when they're broken?
Well, the rules of the internet are diaphagtry, and they apply to no one ever. Sorry if I broke your question.
So how does Anonymous end up interacting with the community around it? I mean, let's take Boston here, for example. Obviously, when you translate from the internet into the real world, you're dealing with face-to-face relationships with people, you're dealing with relations in physical space, the way the church works or the protesters work affect the community. How does that dynamic end up shaping up?
Well, I mean, a group of us actually went down to a South End community group, I'm not going to name them here because I don't want to get them in trouble, to discuss the purchase of the Alexandra Hotel. We wanted to go there and say to them, hey, you know, when Scientology moves in, we're going to be moving in too, so we want to have a good relationship with you guys. We don't want to have an acrimonious relationship because, you know, we're going to be having like 200 people a month showing up and honking in the horns and making noise. And we all went unmasked, you know, I mean, we didn't give our full names, or some of us didn't give our real names. And we walked in there, and they glared at us, and we were like, oh my God, they hate us, they know that we're Anonymous. So finally we got up and we read our little statement about, you know, the Church of Scientology, and they were like, wow, you know, we totally hated you guys because we thought you were Scientologists, and they're moving in. True story. Like, there was this guy glaring at me from across the table, and I was like, oh damn, this really sucks, I really don't want to get into a fight with this guy. And then it turned out that he was like a member of the New England Skeptic Society, and he was like, fine. But